Hello everybody, this is TipTop MTG here today with another Magic the Gathering video. In today's video, we are talking about the MTG Arena State of the Game for November 2020. For those of you who don't know, really quickly, the State of the Game is essentially their monthly update that says, hey, this is what's coming in the monthly update, because there's generally, for MTG Arena, only one update a month, and, you know, this is kind of the what's coming up. Now, a more, like, card by card, or I guess change by change, specific patch notes come out the day of the release, but this is a general overview. We know that Kaladesh Remastered is going to be in here, and I actually haven't looked ahead, so we should be able to talk about it, and I'm going to kind of give you my first reactions and opinions on everything they talk about here, so why don't we read through this? Kaladesh Remastered. Gather your crew, inspect your Aether, and for your safety, please remain seated inside your vehicles until scheduled maintenance has come to a complete stop. It's almost time for Kaladesh and Aether Revolt to return to MTG Arena in Kaladesh Remastered, which means it's time for the November State of the Game. They had this little video that was out a little bit ago, essentially just confirming the exact date of the update, which, by the way, is this Thursday, that being November 12th. So if it's after November 12th, this update's already gone live. Go check it out. But let's keep reading. Era of Innovation. First things first, if you haven't already, let us direct you over to the Kaladesh Remastered card image gallery. This video may end up being like, go check out this video a couple times, because this is kind of a culmination of a couple announcements that they did. There is new stuff in here, I believe, I hope. But I did do a whole video talking about this when they released it. I also did a video covering the new cards that they added, and I also did a video covering the cards that they excluded, so you guys should go check all of those out. Keeping our goals of making progress towards Pioneer and being mindful of the power level historic, you may have noticed that, well, with one notable exception, we haven't added any additional cards to the set because, well, basically they're saying with Amonkhet Remastered, the power level wasn't as high as Aether Revolt and stuff, so in order to add flashy new cards that would make an impact, we had to add specific new cards. But here they're saying, let's be honest, we felt that Kaladesh Remastered didn't need it. There are some very powerful cards and mechanics in this set, both for limited and constructed play, and adding inventions or other cards from Magic's past felt like it was pushing the power level a little too far for our comfort. Yes, Kaladesh and Aether Revolt, when they were released and in Standard, were some of the most powerful sets in a very, very long time that were Standard legal, and so because of that, I really don't think they needed to add, you know, some of the inventions, which were also some of the most powerful cards in Magic. So yeah, I think it's probably a good thing that they're doing this. I would like to see maybe in the past, you know, some sets were not as exciting or didn't have as many powerful cards, so I could totally see them returning to this style, but it really is just a matter of time. Maybe they realized that it was just causing confusion and wasn't worth it. And honestly, I think the inclusion of those cards in Amonkhet Remastered was because they didn't get to do a historic anthology 4, and so that was kind of just them throwing it into the set. But either way, they basically are saying here that Sculpting Steel was the only new addition, and I talked about that in the what new cards are there and what alternate arts are there, except we didn't know why it was unique, why it had the special border, why it was the only card that was not part of the original, and that is because it is the buy a box promo, which means you will not be able to open it up in booster packs or in draft packs. Instead, you will get it if you buy a certain number of packs. And I think the system works fine. I mean, you can also craft it with wild cards. Now, Sculpting Steel is an artifact that just ETBs as a copy of another artifact on the battlefield, which probably goes infinite or has some combo with other things, so I could totally see it being a legitimate card to play. So it is a little unfortunate that's a buy a box. It would have been kind of cool if, for doing draft, if you like got to a certain point, you also got a copy of it. I mean, it's free for them essentially to do that, and it makes people more incentivized to draft. So I think that could have been cool, but yeah, they say we're treating this similar to how we treated Regal Carcel in Amonkhet Remastered, which means you receive a copy when buying booster packs. So, or booster bundles, I should say. So yeah, essentially, Kaladesh Remastered, if you've seen my other videos on it, you should be up to date on this. But now we're getting into some new news, it looks like. Speaking of the store, this is also where you'll find Kaladesh Remastered basic lands at 0 cost to you. So they're going to be in the store, because this looks like the store page. You can kind of see the showcase styles, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, or in a second, I should say. One of the takeaways from Zendikar Rising Renewal Gift was, yes, there is too much of a good thing, and having an automatic grant to all players upon login that involves adding a decent number of cards to their collection alongside a card set release didn't always play nicely with our client and our servers. Doing it this way allows you to add the basic lands to your collection at your convenience. They will be available in the foreseeable future without our servers demanding to know what they did to deserve this. So two or three things I want to talk about. First off, these are the new lands. You can get these cool arts. They're not full arts. They are just normal arts, it appears. But I want to talk about a couple things. First off, what they're referring to is with Zendikar Rising, as part of like renewal, they just gave you like all of the basic lands from Amonkhet Remastered. And what they were doing there was, why they made it part of renewal was that, hey, if you didn't log in before this date, you don't have access to them. If you created a new account right now, you don't have access to the Amonkhet basic lands, which means they can go and monetize them in the future. Versus like when they release a normal set, because when you first read that, you might be like, wait a second, when you release a normal set, you release the set and then give access to the basic lands, but you'll notice you don't actually gain the card. It's just that every player has access to those cards. It's not you gaining the card as like an advantage or something that someone else doesn't have. Everyone has access to the Zendikar Rising basic lands, not the full art ones, just the normal ones. And those weren't just granted to you. So the difference here is that they can take away this in the future. So this will be in the store, I assume for 0 gold, it'll say that. You can click on it and just claim all of them. But in the future, they can remove this. And now, when you log in, you're not going to have access to these lands. And so that's the big difference, is these are kind of lands that are free for everyone, but temporarily. So if you're not logging in during this specific period, you won't have access to them. And I think that's an interesting style, but then it leads to, in the future, I don't have access to these cards. I kind of wish there was a way you could just buy any basic land that was in the past that you can't get access to, even if it was a little bit expensive. It kind of sucks for someone to come in and be like, well, sorry, you didn't log in for, the 6 months this was in the store, you're never getting it again. And I think they probably should have just made these universal cards. This should have just been, it's similar to Ixalan lands. You just have Ixalan lands because, they're in the game. So that's why this is different than a normal standard set, in case you were wondering why it's not just added to your collection. It's so that they can maybe even monetize them in the future, or at least make them feel more limited. Second, this image kind of confirms the showcase style, or I guess what they called masterpieces back then. I say they, but what were called masterpieces back then, they were, maybe not even standard legal cards, but they were alternate art and alternate frame. And with Amonkhet Remastered, we didn't get them. We got maybe art from them on normal cards, but we did not get this like style of cards. And that's because the frame from Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation was almost universally disliked due to how hard it was to read and how like chunky, and it intruded on the art instead of expanding upon the art. So it probably, wasn't a big incentive to add it to the game because it was hated so much. But these I like. They have the nice little border around them, and so it looks like you'll be able to buy those straight in the store. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. Then one thing they're going to talk about here, once maintenance is completed and you've updated your client, so don't try it before you've updated your client apparently, you can use the code TRYKaladesh to receive a complimentary Kaladesh Remastered booster pack. So I actually think I made a tweet about this with Amonkhet. I'm like, hey, it'd be nice if they did a play Amonkhet so that I could, try out the set a little bit. Obviously, I still went on to buy a couple packs of it, but yeah, this is just a nice little inclusion. I think they're just trying to, get some goodwill here. But yeah, let's see what they have to say. Herald of the Fair, let's talk events. As we previously discussed, one of the biggest takeaways from Amonkhet Remastered was how players chose to interact with the set and add cards to their collection, with participation in draft and sealed events greatly exceeding our expectations. Taking this information to heart, we're adding traditional best of 3 draft to the list of Kaladesh limited events. So with Amonkhet Remastered, they just did sealed Premier Draft and draft, I think they only had Premier Draft, Premier Draft and sealed. So here, they're adding this thing called traditional draft, which is obviously something that happens with every, what they call premier set, which is, any standard legal set. They have kind of these events minus draft challenge. I don't know what that is. I hope they explain it. It actually looks like the screenshot below. They do explain it, but essentially it's the same, entry fee, record, and rewards as like standard traditional drafts. But last time people were complaining that they couldn't do best of 3 drafting, and so they wanted to do that. So I think this is generally a good move. Giving players more options to choose between best of 1 and best of 3 is a good thing. There are people who like best of 1, there are people who like best of 3, and so why make people choose? I've noticed they've been doing this a lot more recently, especially with things like the Arena Open, which now has an option for both. But now they say, this is a good place to practice for our Kaladesh Remastered Draft Challenge. So it says, for those of you familiar with our standard metagame challenge, which is essentially net deck, and it's a high entry fee, but you could win like 40 packs. It's like that, only as a best of 3 player draft. This high-stakes competitive draft can reward up to 20,000 gold and 40 Kaladesh Remastered booster packs, assuming you can earn 6 wins before 2 losses. Here are all the details. So this is best of 3, and if you can manage to get 6 wins, and I think this is a typo right here, you can get yourself 20,000 gold and 40 Kaladesh Remastered boosters for the entry fee of 15,000 gold. Not my favorite in terms of like types of events, but I'm sure there are lots of people who love this highly competitive thing, and it's interesting to see them kind of do this with draft. It's something we've never seen before, and in a set where they said, you know, drafting is such a big deal, it was with Amonkhet as well, it is going to be kind of nice to see, you know, maybe a good test here before a standard release. Then they say, as for those of you looking to test your mettle in constructed play, our next arena open is scheduled for December 12th. And yep, you guessed it, that format will be historic constructed, with day 1 offering both best of 1 and best of 3 events, and day 2 being best of 3. Full details will be arriving in December, but we wanted to give you ample time for our folks to brew, build, and test. So yeah, the last one of these was just a couple days ago, I think 10 days ago from this release on Halloween. So yep, they've confirmed the date of the next one, which is nice. It's not just oh, we added it on some calendar somewhere. That's how we're announcing it. It's good to see it here. It's good to see that it's historic. It's nice that they're kind of bouncing between the two formats. And it's also really awesome to see that it is also offering the best of 1 and best of 3 for the first day once again. So it looks like that was a success, and they're going to continue. Now, I see the next title, and I'm trying not to get excited because Historic Brawl. I mean, this is something that people have been really asking about, and what I'm scared of is that I see the text Historic Brawl here as if it's an event. It's not a queue. And so let's see what they have to say. Oh, great. Next on our list of topics today, Historic Brawl. To start, we're holding a week-long Historic Brawl Festival starting on November 20th. Like our other festival events, our Inventors Fair Historic Brawl Festival will have a one-time entry fee of 2,500 gold or 500 gems. It will allow you to play as many matches as you'd like for its duration, awarding card styles for your first 3 wins, and I think this is utterly ridiculous. So here's what this is how Brawl was released in Arena. So first, there's a free event where you can use pre-constructed decks and play against each other, and they're like, okay, building your own decks and stuff, that's coming later. So then we get this, you know, Brawl announcement, and it's Brawladays, where essentially it is I think it was 20,000 gold, and you unlock Brawl for 31 days, and not even 31 days. It was until a specific date. So if you joined like halfway through a month and wanted to play Brawl, you're paying for half the amount of time. And people got really mad, and you know, your one reward was a free rare legendary that they added to the standard Brawl format. So there were just, you know, on Arena, there were these random legendaries like Rise the Redeemed that were just legal there and nowhere else. And I think that was a mess. And so what they did is they changed it to, okay, you know, we're also going to do Wednesday Brawl. Sorry, wrong way around. They started by doing Wednesday Brawl, where essentially you could play Brawl every Wednesday. People were like, oh, we want to play more of this, yada, yada, yada. So they charged an entry fee for it with Brawladays, and that became Brawler's Guild Hall. Eventually they realized, wait, this is stupid. After they made it free for the quarantine, because of the start of the quarantine, they made Brawladays, or I guess Brawler's Guild Hall, free, and then they were like, oh wait, this doesn't have the bad effect that we thought it would. So they thought that everyone would just switch to playing Brawl and ignore Standard, and that would make them lose money. But then they realized that people just want to play Brawl when they want to have fun. So then what do? Oh, Historic Brawl. You know, it's fun. They do it once. Oh, people want more of it? Okay, so then they do it like every 4 weeks as an FNM at home event. And then people are like, we want to play more. So what do? They monetize it. And you'll notice a trend here. So before you pull out your implements of malice, oh, I guess I already did that, we're also planning to hold another week-long Historic Brawl event, so not a permanent queue. It's not like this is just a test and then we're going to go to a permanent queue, starting in early January, which, may I mention, there is December between now and January. This time as a general play queue, just like Brawl queue right now, no entry fee, no additional reward. So they're going to do a week now where you're going to have to pay, and they're going to see how many people pay for that. And if a lot of people pay for it, then they're going to keep making you pay for it. And then they're going to do one where you don't pay for it. And then if that has greatly exceeding numbers and causes people to build more decks, they're going to do that way. So I would actually encourage, even if you love Historic Brawl, don't enter this event. Do not encourage them to take a format that is not a, like, you know, normally the festivals are kind of niche formats. Oh, 100 card singleton where every spell is free. Yeah, no, that's not a normal format. Historic Brawl is something that should always be in the queue. And if you support them by entering this event, you are encouraging them to paywall things. What if once we get Pioneer, it's like, oh, sorry, if you want to play Pioneer, that's going to be 1,000 gold a game. You'd be very upset about that. Now, because you are getting actual rewards for it, I don't have as big of a problem as Brawladays, but I still think it's an awful practice and I will not be supporting it, even though I enjoy Historic Brawl. And you'll notice, I bet you, there's going to be no Historic Brawl FNM at homes around this time. They are simply going to want you to pay to enter this event, and I think it is utterly ridiculous. And then, oh, January, a whole month later, more than a month later, you get to play it for a week for free. Woo! Let's see what else I have to say. We've made some incorrect assumptions about Brawl in the past, so yes, we are being careful with how we approach this. What I find funny is the bad approach that they got, or the bad, I guess, assumptions that they got, was that they needed to go this slow, and so they're doing it again. They didn't just rush to add it, and that caused everyone, like, the queues to be messed up. No. They waited way too long to add it. That was the big problem. And so they want to be careful with how we approach this. Being careful would be just, hey, we're going to do this one test event, and see for a week, or even a month, we're gonna let you play Historic Brawl, we're gonna see how things go, and if it doesn't work out, if it messes up the queues too much, we are not obligated to keep it around. Fine, do that. Do not charge an entry fee for a week, then make people wait a month or two to then play for a week, and then wait and see if you want to change your mind on this. This is exactly what happened with Brawl. Went from occasional event to we're going to make you pay for it, and then eventually they're going to realize that, wait a second, maybe we should just make this a format. The more formats there are, the more decks people have to make, which means the more money they make. It's not like they're even losing that much to do this. And actually, Historic is much harder to build for than Brawl, because Historic has such a large card pool. The odds that you're going to have a card for that, it's ridiculous. And if they launched it alongside Kaladesh Remastered, now there's a bunch of awesome new legendaries, a bunch of awesome new powerful cards in Kaladesh Remastered that people are now going to go need to chase because they like Historic Brawl. I don't understand this at all. Ultimately, we want to see whether there's enough interest in both formats to support a healthy play environment simultaneously. Nobody wants to end up in a world where both Brawl and Historic Brawl suffer from long queue times and repeated mirror matches because we split the player base in twain. So you're going to charge for it? That gives you a real accurate number as whether it's going to split in half, because I bet you there are going to be people who see that and go, nope, I would play Historic Brawl, but you're charging for it. So now you're not getting accurate data at all. So that reasoning is not true. You are not getting accurate data. If you wanted accurate data, you would just make the event free. Okay? I understand there's a free one coming, but why in January? Why not December? At least bring it a little bit closer. I think this is just a kick in the face. They're like, oh, you're saying we're not talking about Historic Brawl here. We put something here. We'll make you pay for it now, and then maybe we'll give it to you for free later. However, we've also received lots of feedback from players who really want to play Historic Brawl more often, so we're running these events to test the waters and hopefully find a balance. So what are they going to do? Find out that, oh, it does split the player base? Sorry, we're never adding this format? Oh, I don't understand what they're doing here. This just feels idiotic and feels like they are trying to make people angry. You know what? People were already angry about the last state of the game, which was just an advertisement for events. And this video, by the way, is going to be a little bit longer because I have a lot to say. It was just an advertisement for events. So people were like, this better be good. And so far, this has been, oh, here's an announcement we already made. Oh, here are events you have to pay for. And yes, okay, cool. And now you have best of 3. That's a little nice. Oh, and now we're charging you for Historic Brawl. This state of the game has been worse than the last one, and the last one didn't say anything. So think about that. Let's talk about mobile. As a small update in this regard, you've likely already heard it elsewhere, but yes, we're confirming that MTG Arena on mobile has been pushed to early 2021. I did a video covering this a while ago, so again, state of the game, not announcing anything, we're just talking about things that have been announced weeks ago. Our goal to support the full MTG Arena experience on Android and iOS remains the same, but we need more time than 2020 is willing to give us to make it happen. Launching on mobile includes a lot of obvious things, and a lot of behind-the-scenes work to ensure that players have a uniform experience across all platforms. We hope to have an update timeline come January with the release of Kaldheim. One little thing there, we get the announcement that MTG Arena's Kaldheim is coming in January, and then that actually made me go check their WPN store, and you'll notice here that they've actually added the dates for events, and so we can see that the pre-release is on the 4th, but it's not actually. This is just very deceptive. If we go to their actual announcement of this, pre-release starts on the 29th. So we now have a date, and then we have the official release starting on the 5th. So that's nice that we have a date for that, and we now know that this is coming in January. And they mentioned up here, Historic Brawl is coming early January. So what I think is going to happen is that we're going to get an early January update, which is going to be really small and just do this Historic Brawl thing and a couple other maybe little events. And then mobile and Kaldheim are going to come later that month. So, yep, I think this makes a lot of sense. I would have guessed that it would either come out with Kaldheim or Strixhaven. It's better than I expected. I expected, they're pushing into 2021 barely. So next, odds and end. In addition to Kaladesh Remastered, we wanted to call out some key bug fixes and gameplay improvements that should be arriving with the November game update. To list a few, so that means there's going to be more than this, I hope. Players should no longer experience a delay when finishing a match. Your rank should no longer incorrectly display after unranked match. The Phyrexian Swamp is once again complete. We addressed a sizing issue where commander names could appear too large and block cards. Rankle's trigger now shows all chosen ability instead of just the one currently in progress. Nimble Trapfinder's ability now properly triggers when a party member enters the battlefield from other places besides the hand, and more. Essentially, we need to fill out the state of the game, so let's add the things that we normally just put in the patch notes. This is also here because MTG Arena has been getting worse. And I will be the first to admit that. The stability of updates, the stability of just the game in general has just gone way, way down. And then they say cleanup step, hey, go buy the pre-order for Kaladesh Remastered. And that is the entire article. So let's summarize this article, and you can kind of get my opinion on it. Oh, we're announcing something we announced 2 weeks ago. It's kind of cool. A new set announcement. That's fun. Oh, free lands. I would really appreciate, getting free basic lands for the sets you release. Next thing you know, you're not going to be able to play MTG Arena without first buying your basic lands, even if you're a new player. Oh, we're adding best of 3 to draft. I guess that's okay. So, basically, something you already announced, or they already announced, something that should already be free with every set release. Something that probably should have been there in the first place, but I will give them this one. That's a nice little addition. The draft challenge is just an event, so they're just advertising events here. Historic Brawl, that now you have to pay for, so, woo. And, oh, you get to pay, if you don't want to pay for it, just wait a month or two. So this isn't even coming this month or this update. Mobile's an announcement that we already got that it's delayed, although now we know it's a little bit more specific. Oh, bug fixes, I would hope so, and that's it. So it's Kaladesh Remastered. That's the only thing coming this month. Woo, you can play Historic Brawl. It's not important. That isn't the point of this announcement at all. It is Kaladesh Remastered, and the fact that if we get a card set, we don't get any other features, I find kind of sad. I think they really could have done something here. I mean, even if they would have just done Kaladesh Remastered, they should have seen the last update and said, oh, we really need to make this up to our players, because at this point, I don't know, MTG Arena just feels very nah. And so it would have been nice if they were like, Historic Brawl, we're going to try it out for a month. With the release of Kaladesh, we're going to celebrate Kaladesh and innovation, we're going to, do Historic Brawl for a month and see where it goes from there, or even for a week. I think starting with the paid one was a really bad idea. Overall, I think this is a terrible update. I was excited for the state of the game, but I can just see that, oh, they probably should have kept the announcement of Kaladesh Remastered. It would have given me something interesting to talk about. But yeah, no, we get the cool announcement that there's styles you can buy, and, I guess you get free lands. Again, I want to know your guys' thoughts on this. Of course, it is a little bit better than last month, in my opinion. We at least got some information about when mobile's coming out, an exact month now. We got the announcement that they are at least looking and realizing that there's bugs. But what bothers me is if we look around around this time last year, we were also having issues in MTG Arena of bugs. And, they actually had a special section at the start of every single post about, oh, stability and this, and here's the improvements we're making. We realize stability isn't going well. We realize we're having an issue. And this is not that. This is not the admission of, oh, right now we're really messing up our releases. This is just saying, oh, we fixed some bugs. They did not say, oh, we realized that there were lots of issues and we're trying our hardest to make sure that updates go better in the future. No, they're not saying that, because that's not what they mean. No, there are going to be bugs, there will always be, and they're just going to fix them a month later. And essentially they're saying deal with that. And I know this has been a very negative video, and I normally don't make such negative videos, but everything about this post just irritates me. Even the, yay, we're fixing bugs, and we noticed, they at least admit that there were enough bugs that it's warranting a spot on the state of the game. But it was not oh, we're sorry that last update was such a horrible disaster, we're gonna make sure that things are better in the future. No, it's go buy our pre-order. This is an advertisement for Kaladesh Remastered. So, yep, that's my thoughts on it. I want to know all your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe to see more awesome content like this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.